Peace.
This is Joshua Law. Peace. This is Joshua Law, Mr. PhD. You're just now entering the cipher called Real to Real 360. K-Wise.
Peace, God.
Bring that beat in, kid.
Indeed.
Peace.
Yeah. What's going on, party people? Welcome to the Real to Real 360 show. Let's get it in.
We do the knowledge and wisdom so you can understand. Real to Real 360 shows in full command. We changing the game for how it all was taught. From bondage to freedom to an independent thought. Yo, the show is here to bring about a change for real. To lighten everyone so we all know the deal. 360 degrees is a fact. We created the show to give our love back to our communities so we can know what's going on and give them the support from knowledge to born. So if you're ready to learn, then it's time to go. Sit back and relax and enjoy your show. Peace.
Peace, peace, peace in the name of Allah and all the 5% of the gods and earths everywhere, and to all the human families of the planet Earth. I be DJ KYs, aka KO, the Black Superhero. And I am right here. Welcome you to another explosive and informative, very informative episode of the Real to Real 360 show. But without further ado, I got to bring on my co-host with the most, my brother in God, Joshua Allah, a.k.a. Mr. PhD himself. Peace, Almighty.
Peace, peace, peace to all the gods and nerds. Peace to all our followers and listeners. Thank you for all your support that you have been giving us through this whole experience. We have been traveling through this here for this our second season of Real to Real 360. And we greatly appreciate all the energy that you have been giving us at this moment in time. But today should be very impactful. We're waiting on our special guest to come in. When he comes in, we're definitely going to kick in. But right now, we're going to address some things with my co-host, K-Wise.
Yes.
Peace, Almighty.
Peace, God. What's good?
Man, everything is good, man. You just can't... Sometimes, man, I look at some of our shows and where we've been, you know what I'm saying, through the muck and the mire and how we have grown through everything, you know what I mean? So just wanted to address that, you know what I'm saying, because a lot of times, you know, in the beginning, we were still learning this thing, you know what I'm saying? We had a determined idea that we were going to come on and we was going to do this Q&A podcast thing and make it happen. And you look at where we are today.
Absolutely.
It's just mind-blowing, to say the least, that we would even be in this type of a situation, you know. When it comes down to it, you know, we've had some great guests, and we look forward to having some more great guests. The lineup is ridiculous. Today we're doing men's mental health, you know, and with that being said, we really don't need no guests. We can just discuss it ourselves. When it comes down to men's mental health, we have to be able to have a conversation with one another, you know, to be able to release stress and energy. Men always harbor things, and then they hold it in until they explode. You know what I'm saying? And that's not a good situation for no one, you know, for the most part. So it's something that we need to discuss. You know what I mean? Some things, sometimes we take on a lot of things that on our shoulders and people don't even realize. You know what I'm saying? We internalize things a lot, and we don't speak on a lot of things, and things that we should speak on, things that we should address. And it becomes a heavy weight. You know what I'm saying? We always talk about the earth being 6 sextillion times followed by a unit of 21 ciphers. But then you adding on that earth, then you adding on the babies, then you adding on the stress of the world. And it's like, who can I go to release this energy? You know what I'm saying? The stress to get this conversation. And we start talking about what plays a part on your mental. You know what I'm saying? What is it that is destroying you from the inside out? These are some of the things.
Yeah. Well, you know what? You saying it. Hold on, pause yourself. Let's take a look here.
Oh, that's the God life.
Okay, peace, God. Do you have a release file to let go some of the things that you contain in your mind that bothers you? Well, one of the things, God, and peace, God, thank you for the comment and question. What we look at for the most part, let's look at from the black man's perspective. Okay, going way back for all that we have endured for over 400 plus years. That was the weight of the world on a black man's mind, body, and soul. When you go back and you reflect on that picture or statue which they made of Atlas holding up the world on his shoulder. And you see his head was kind of tilted and bent down. And see, God, you just added on with it with the 6 sextillion tons holding up what the man was holding up. You know what I mean? The pressure of the world, holding the weight of the world lays on our shoulders because we was the foundation, first of all. And then when you are the founder and you build a foundation, you the one that got to make sure that foundation and structure stays tight. You know what I mean? We go through a lot mentally and physically each and every day. Peace, God. How are you? And one of the main things we've always discussed and talked about amongst ourselves, fast forward into this day in modern times, is that communication is the first part of the best part. You know what I mean? It's the knowledge. And if we can't communicate and express ourselves, because like you said, we bundle so much because our mindset was framed to say, don't say too much about nothing. Just hold it in. Do what you got to do. You're not a man if you talk about it. That machoism. We had a lot of things going negatively against us to convert us, to reverse us psychologically, and to destroy our foundation, which to crumble the family. Because of these things, these reverse polarities of Allah's true nature, we have gone through so much hell, and we living in hell. And it's only that God, when the mind state is right, you see how God makes everything love, hell, or right to the first place. So we want to make sure that we express to every black man, and I don't care what walk of life you want, communication is the key and the factor of all things for you to make sure you take care of yourself and let things go. Don't be afraid to hold stuff. Don't let it go. Let it go. Talk to somebody. You know what I mean? Somebody who you feel that you can honestly trust and build that relationship with. You know what I'm saying? Peace and blessings, Miss Kimberly Brooks. How are you? Hope everything is going well. We doing good here. Hope everything is still going. We still pushing the narrative for Save Row out there in Jasper, Texas. We hope your program is pushing and going right in the right direction as it needs to be down there as well. But absolute, God. I mean, getting back to that mental health, because there's so much. A lot of people don't really know the plight that we take on every day in this world just by being a black man, period. You know what I mean? Everybody looks at it like, oh, man, y'all should get over this and that and that and that. But you don't know what it took for us to get. If you knew the history, our story, not history, but our story from day one, when you put on our shoes and see if you can fit them shoes and walk the way we have for these many eons of years, then you may have a right to say those things, But
God, it behooves me, what I'm saying, when I see things and I look at brothers and I'm like, what plays a part on your mental, what I'm saying, for you to lose yourself in drugs and alcohol, when you lose yourself in the streets, and at some point in time, what I'm saying, they say that you're running from something, the more and more physical stimulations that you put in your body. Right. So when we as individuals sit there and we sit down and we build and we go through things, peace. We go through things, it's the things that shape and mold us mentally going forward. People don't realize, like, the things that you see or the things that you have been involved with, what I'm saying, builds who you are. Sometimes we talk about the incarceration of individuals that shapes and molds you, what I'm saying, from inside out. What I'm saying, even though you're incarcerated from the outside in, but what goes on is from the inside out. It's what, you know what I'm saying, plays a part on your mind. Then you see in the community, you know what I'm saying, all these different social ills that individuals go through. You know what I'm saying, when it comes down to struggling financially, when it comes down to struggling trying to feed your family, when it's struggling trying to keep a roof over your head. And when you feel like, you know what I'm saying, you can't go to anyone to have these type of conversations, or you can even go to anyone to ask for help and feel like individuals would not judge you. This is the things that goes on with a lot of black people, black men, especially because I've had a conversation with a young man the other day that works with me. He just had a young girl, little baby the other night, and his black woman, you know what I'm saying, she works a full-time job and he works 2 part-times. So who is this right here?
Right here. I read it. He says, the fact is, from his own experience, what he's saying, because I can't speak on nobody else, I can only speak with me. What time you want to losing to drugs and alcohol is things that I was going to buy some mental and emotional feelings of things that happened to me. Things that I've done played a part in not wanting to deal with facing those demons or people and having shame and guilt until I realized Mandel to die. I guess that's right. Mandel to die, to be so true and accept the part that I played in my life, good, bad, or indifferent, but tell the truth. I understand that. Peace, God. You know,
that's what I'm saying. Like, you have to get to that point where you're at peace with yourself. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of things that go on, and we're talking about men's mental health. Like, what is, you know what I'm saying? How can we help each other? You know what I'm saying? Get through certain situations and feel the brotherhood. You know what I'm saying? Without, you know what I'm saying, feeling judgment or feeling like we're going to be judged by someone else. Because the most hurtful thing is an individual that you feel is close to you is the one that's going to put you in a situation to make you feel less than what you are. You know what I mean? Absolutely. The most vulnerable thing for a man is to ask for help. And we rarely ever do that because we don't want individuals in our business, number one. We don't want individuals to judge us, number two. We don't want to look weak to another man, number three. So we sit up there and we deal with a lot of things that plays a part. You know what I mean? And the thing is, when it comes down to it, you know, you get to that point. Yeah, like some people do, they do judge, you know what I'm saying, regardless. But when you're going through things, you don't want to hear that shit. You know what I mean? You don't want to hear that shit. You know what I mean? Period. And the reality of it is, you know what I'm saying, as a man, you have to be self-sufficient. You have to look at things, you know what I'm saying, totally from a different lens. You don't want to. The worst thing in the world is for a man to go to live with a woman that's already established and he's not established. At that point in time, you know what I'm saying, you got a sword over your head. You know what I'm saying? That's some other shit. That's some other stuff, you know what I'm saying, that individuals deal with. When you again, like we said, when you're dealing with drugs and you're dealing with a whole bunch of other stuff, and then also too, you're dealing with things in the street. And the climate of the world today doesn't make it any better when you walk around with a target on your back. You know what I'm saying? When you walk around with a target on your back and you never know, like when you walk out that doors, you're gonna come home, and it's not for the fact that you're involving yourself in situations that is other than, is that you have so many beasts and devils that are out there. You know what I'm saying? And
hold on. Pause, Chef. We gonna go on to this comment right here with Tori Coleman. Different types of medicine is needed for fallen Black people. Some of us are strong mentally, some are weak, and some are scared. Then you have people afraid to heal from outright terrorism. Okay, well let's add on and build with that. Number one, you got to ask yourself, Let me ask you this: what types of different medicines are you saying that the black man or fallen black people need? All right, and you told me some of us are strong mentally. True indeed. If you're strong mentally in anything like that, first of all, the mental is the source of all things. When you become mentally strong within it, you're not gonna fall for the okie doke. Let's put it like right. But you have to look at the foundation of all things, what happened to us, how we became the fallen angels from our own demise. Okay, when you turn away and turn astray, it plays a strong mental part, is what keeps you from becoming who you truly are. You have become lost within yourself to know the true God within you. So what you got to do, okay? You're either going to seek help, you're either going to hear help, you're going to have to want to help. And you, in order for you to want to help, the first thing you got to say is, I need to help me. I need help for myself. You got to recognize the issues within before you can heal or help without. You know what I'm saying? So to that part being there, ladies and gentlemen, I don't want to hold up any further, but we talking and dealing on the issues of men's mental health and awareness. And we do now have our special guest in the background right now. So without further ado, and I want to thank each and everybody right now for their questions and comments, and continue to bring them on, because right now you are going to hear something very powerful that's food for your mind. And hopefully when you engulf it and digest it into your system, your mental state will be that powerful source to get you the energy that you need to hear. So, brother Josh Mel, let's go ahead and introduce our special guest for this evening.
Our special guest today is Dr. Brian Turner. He has his practice in New Orleans. He's an author, mentor, and family counselor. We'd like to bring him on at this moment in time because we see that, it's a hot topic today. So, absolutely. Dr. Turner, come on in.
What's up, brothers? How y'all doing tonight, man?
All is well, Dr. Brian. How are you?
For sure. I'm good. I was doing a little work, man. I actually had a client, and of course, I'm gonna be funny. Excuse me, because I just got back from vacation, so I'm trying to function back in my real mind. So I totally mixed up the time zones. So that was me, and I was like, yeah, I'll be done with my client till I can. So I'm doing the work. I wasn't playing around. All right.
All right, but hold on one second, Dr. Turner. Let me clarify something, because see, in the conversation, there's a misrepresentation, misinterpretation somewhere. Mm-hmm. Just because an individual have knowledge of himself or a knowledge of a situation does not mean that they have the power to heal themselves, from these certain things. Because just because you have information do not give you that power. You know what I'm saying? It definitely doesn't. So for individuals to think that just because you are or you have knowledge of self, that you this, that, and the third, you're fooling yourself. Fooling yourself.
I think once again, the interest in that kind of point is oftentimes not just the knowledge, but where'd you get that knowledge from?
Right.
So we oftentimes, and especially in the Black community, I did not watch the BET Awards, and I've actually been refraining from certain things just because I find it's not helpful for me. I don't care what nobody else do. If you watch it, if they watch it, who watches that's good. But I think about how when I see the memes of Kanye, right, and I'm thinking like, yo, like here's a guy who has become a billionaire. I did watch him on a joint with Noriega, I think, and a couple other cats, and listen to him. But I thought about how, people come to know themselves in various capacities.
Right.
And it's not for me to judge, but I think about how that then affects other people and their ability to evaluate themselves. Mm-hmm. And so if you think about a lot of what's going on, especially around Black male mental health and what's happening, we see a lot of young Black men are using images and likenesses of individuals that are not healthy. Mm-hmm. But they're the ones who seem to be living the good life, right? And so if I'm using someone who's not healthy, but they got women, they got money, they got clout, then I'm going to think that's what I need to be. And so there's nothing per se wrong with an individual who chooses that. But if you're choosing that and that's not healthy, then at some point it's going to play out, right? The toxicity, right? The well-being is going to play out. And so I think that's what we've witnessed over time with Kanye. That's what we've witnessed happen, is that time and time again, he was not true to himself, but he could present this image. Right. But I think that happens every day. I think most young men are struggling with that. And I think in a lot of ways, that's the struggle, is that we don't have many guys, young men, who would look to say Dr. Turner and say, well, that's the type of man I need to be. Someone who is not riding around in a Bugatti. He's not popping bottles, but he's taking care of his family. He's living a good life, et cetera, right? We don't necessarily tell that to young black men. We tell them they got to go out and be the biggest, baddest that they can be.
True indeed. Pause yourself real quick. Josh Mel and Dr. Brad Turner, I want to recapture something real quick that I'm looking at. And I want you, sir, to comment after I make my comment within what I see. So I want to pull it up so you see exactly what I'm about to address. And it's from a brother here, says Tory Coleman here. First, the part I want to go is that he says that we never mentally heal. And he's talking about the black man or the black conscious mind state of people. Then he says here, only the strong survive. And his other comment that I really wanted to address is this here. He says, once you know who you are, inside help is not needed. I have to take a disagreement with that, because once you know who you are, you still going to need help in any kind of way. We don't do things by ourselves. The learning process, you want to learn certain things where you find out. But when you find out something that you know, you have to seek more of that information to make sure that that information is right and exact. So how do you do that? You seek help, whether it be from an individual or you doing the research and study from other studies to make sure that it makes sense. That's what I'm saying. And then still, when you say that we're not mentally healed, depends upon the person's point of view about establishing their health and heal if they fail to heal, or, no one determines what somebody else is unless that person is within themselves. I can only govern and judge K Wise. I can't get up there and judge Josh Mel going through his life. Only thing I can do is be a strong brother with him and for him, to hear him when he wants to talk to me about his trials and tribulations. And I do the best from the knowledge I know to try to give the best advice, or just sometimes listening to the knowledge for listen, observe, and respect what he says. Because sometimes what may come out his mouth might be a healing factor for me, and he may not know it, nor Dr. Turner might know. You know what I'm saying? So, pardon self. Tori, I hear what you're saying, and I'm loving your dialect, but I give us a little bit more clarification on certain parts that you want to comment on, because listen, you say God brings himself from triple stages. Is it God? I can go. We can talk to you on a whole nother level about that, but we want to deal with the fact about the men's mental health and awareness. So I'm gonna just end it right there. So I want y'all to comment on what he's saying right there. Peace.
Pardon me 1 second. We have to realize a lot of times that we cover our insecurities. We cover our own insecurities with certain things. We highlight other stuff. We go hard in different areas when we're going through something, or we don't want something to be seen. What we do is we will sit there and throw a smoke screen somewhere else, because you don't want individuals to see what is really going on or what you're really dealing with. So you go hard with these cliches, you go hard with certain things. But the reality of it is you're still going through this mental hell. You know what I mean? So we want to get to the point where we bring Dr. Turner on so we can help ourselves, heal, or there be some things that we can recognize as triggers that we can help ourselves get to that point. Pardon me for cutting you, Dr. Turner. I just wanted to address that right there. But how do you see when men try to deflect what they're actually going through and go so hard in a different direction so they don't become mentally ill?
So oftentimes when I speak about black male mental health specifically, I start with the story of John Henry, right? The myth of John Henry, in terms of the brother who was a steel spike driver for the railroad, right? Mm-hmm. And the brother was put in a position where he decided that he wanted to prove to the world that he was not going to be outworked by the steam engine. Mm-hmm. Well, the reality is that steam engine did the work. He beat it, but he died. So it was a Pyrrhic victory, right? He was able to beat the steam engine, but what did it cost him? It cost him life. Many black men are caught up in that struggle every day. We fight every day to prove our manhood, our masculinity, our strength, our unbrokenness, only to do what? Die with very little to show for it. So when I see Brother Tory's comment, I get where he's coming from. And I think that's the beauty of having these dialogues, is that it's not that we want to turn him off. It's that we include that so that we can all think about it and come to a resolve that allows us to better understand where we all stand. So what I would say is that we got to avoid absolutism. That would be my only thing with Brother Coleman, Brother Tory's comment, is that when we say we did not mentally ill, then that's the part I would say is a little disingenuous, because some of us did heal. That's why we could get a Barack Obama. That's why we can get some of the elected officials, and that's why we can get some of the greats like the Dr. Kings and the El-Haj Malik Shabazz, and why we can get brothers and sisters who step up and take roles, right? And so I think that's one of the things that also creates this cognitive dissonance in the world, and that we are struggling with this idea of like who's healthy and who's not. And of course, the reality for me is that oftentimes the system is telling us, well, why you can't just be like this person? Well, I played high school football and I played college football, right? But I didn't want to go to the NFL, right? Not because it wasn't a dream. It was because I looked at the numbers of what it takes to go to the NFL, the level of commitment, and I realized that was not where I was. What I was committed to, though, was getting these degrees and having this profession and living the life I'm living now, right? But if we take the thing about what happens with little kids, what did Biggie say, right? Either you sell crack rock or you have a wicked jump shot. If that's the only thing little black boys are told they can do, then they don't think about the other things that they can be. A good colleague and friend here down in New Orleans, Kelvin Mackey, the founder of STEM NOLA, he talks about the fact that we got to be sure of our treasure, our talents, and our time, and where we putting them, right? But he also made a great point. He said, we didn't wait till LeBron James was 18 years old to give him a basketball. We didn't wait for Kobe Bryant to be 18 to get a basketball. We didn't wait for Tiger Woods to be 18 to get golf clubs. We didn't wait for Peyton Manning to be 18 to give him a football. So if we're not telling black boys and girls completely, right, what they can be as early as possible. No, you can be an astronaut. You can be a scientist. You can be a doctor. You can be a lawyer. You can be a TV personality. You can be a world-renowned whatever. And the reality is, all too often for black boys, we tell black boys all too often, sit down, shut up, and don't say nothing. And then when they become 18, we want them to be men. We want them to be leaders. Right. How can I do that? If you've been telling me be a kid, and not that we want to parentify young men and women, but if we don't have something very important to me, rites of passages, right, and programs to bring our kids along to adulthood, that's why they don't know how to be adults. That's why the decision maker for conflict resolution and problem solving right now in the black community is a gun.
Dr. Turner, can you comment on what you're reading right there? I'm going to read it out to you. He says, when I was a kid, I used to prove the type of person I wanted to appear to my peers and did bad things to prove how much I was bad to them. Then I had a second task to prove how good I was to my mom. But when I got alone, I realized I never proved nothing to myself.
That would be the epitome of what we call cognitive dissonance. On one hand, he has to show the world how big and hey, bro, look, can we cuss? Because I don't want to be rude.
Yeah.
Well, we gonna be right and exact in here. We just remember, not so much as the hard hit, but we.
Yeah. I'm not going over the top. but what I'm saying is, like, on one hand, you want to be Billy Badass in the street to show everybody you got, you're a man. But then at home, we're mama's boy, right?
Right.
So I'm Billy Badass Street, but when I get home, my mama could look at me and I'm gonna feel soft and I'm gonna want to cry because I made my mama feel bad, right? But the reality of it is, like that's the kind of thing that masculinity and I actually don't use the term toxic masculinity in the work I do. I understand what people mean by it, and I don't stop others, but I talk about the reality of hyper masculinity. We're more in a world where to be masculine, you have to be the biggest, the baddest, the loudest. Your rims got to be bigger. Your chains got to be bigger. You got to have all these things to prove how manly you are. But I don't know about y'all. I watch P-Valley, right? And I'm looking at Lil Murda have sex with his friend, right? Who just got out of jail.
Right.
And I think about how his presentation in the show is this: I'll kill you, I'll shoot you, I'll bang you up. Dr. Naeem Akbar has a video I use where he talks about the yin and yang of masculinity and manhood and women. And he talks about how that's one of the things that men deal with, right? Is that I got to be so bad in these streets that nobody will mess with me. But I have no place to be sensitive and loved and cared for. And so how does that play out? In many ways, we don't know how that plays out. Or it comes out in aberrant ways. It comes out that the only way for me to be soft is I have to have sex with all kinds of women. I have to have multiple women, right? Mm-hmm. But none of them I connect with because nobody's taught me how to really love. Mm-hmm. And so that's what I saw Brother Tory kind of putting out there is that he gets love from the homies by showing them how badass he is. But then at home, he can be soft with mom, but then he realized, well, I haven't proven it because I'm right back at square one. Tomorrow I got to go back out there in the streets and act up. And then when I come home, so how do we get to be both? How do I get to have the multiplicity of my identity and be comfortable with that, right? So I can, and I get into this conversation with some other folks, and I'm gonna play with this right quick. The notion of what I call Black gender tribalism right now, mm-hmm. that within our community, brothers and sisters are going at each other's throat, right? That if I see a brother doing something wrong, I really can't call my brother out because if I call him out, I might get kicked out of the tribe. Mm-hmm. I become a recluse, right? And then sisters can't call other sisters out for doing nothing jacked up because they're gonna kick out the tribe. So you got brothers and sisters in our different gender groups that don't like what other brothers and sisters be doing, but we can't call them out because if we get kicked out the tribe, where we go? Mm-hmm. And they call that the pick me person, right? You're a pick me person. Right? That's what I keep saying. So you pick me because I'm siding with the sisters, or you siding with the brothers. No, I'm not. We're supposed to be able to call out the tomfoolery when it happens, right? And I think what Brother Tory is getting at is actually a process because he comes back to the idea of like knowledge itself. And I think the reality of that knowledge itself, once again, holds true. But I will say the Ubuntu principle says that I can't do anything in this world and it not affect other people. I sit in this space because my mentor sat on and stood on the shoulders of others. So ain't no way Dr. Brian Turner got here by himself. I'm smart, but there was somebody who went through a door before me that helped me to be able to get here. Right. And I have to acknowledge that. Now, do I go to work every day? Yes. Do I pay my bills? Yes. But if I don't acknowledge the shoulders of those I stand on, then I'm actually doing a disservice to the actual people who got me here. So I think it's not a if or and. I think it's a both and. I don't think it's a or. I think it's a and. Right. Mm-hmm. I can be and have knowledge of myself, but it's based upon the relationships I have with other people. And I think that's key, especially when we talk about Black mental health, because Brother Michael Dyson, Dr. Michael Dyson broke this down in the film I use called Hip Hop Beyond Beats and Rhymes by documentary by her. He talks about the fact that when you look at how Brothers and Snoop Dogg did it when he talked about it ain't no fun if the homie can't have none. We playing with the notion of what's happening in the room when a bunch of brothers trying to sit around and have sex with one woman. Well, that's a very homoerotic moment, right? Mm-hmm. Me and this cat are about to have sex with this woman, but at any point in time, if we touch each other, that's gay. And then we see the proliferation of that and the evolution of that to Lil Wayne and Birdman sharing his kiss, and now everybody says no homo, right? But I remember my brothers. I have 4 brothers, 3 living brothers, 1 passed away. But I remember people would be uncomfortable about the fact that me and my brothers would hug and kiss each other on the cheek. But we used to tell people, I can kiss my brother on the cheek because he'll die for me. I can hug my brother because he'll live for me, right? So there's nothing gay about me showing love to my brother. It begins with the fact that this is my blood, right? And we have to try to create spaces, one, where we can have these conversations, but more importantly, where we can actually practice healthy mental health for brothers, right? We have to be able to put a place in it where brothers can sit down and talk about emotions and feelings and weakness and vulnerability, but also build each other up through knowledge and information and through practice, right? So that's why mentorship becomes so important. That's why rites of passage becomes so important. That's why I'm a 2-time graduate of HBCUs. And one of the things I can say that most of my friends who did not go to HBCUs talk about is the fact they didn't always feel like they had the cultural connection. They got the learn piece, right? They got the education, but they didn't always feel a part of what was going on. And I think that becomes a very interesting part there with to think about. How do we actually create this space for brothers to practice what we're talking
about? Dr. Harris, Dr. Harris says real quick, wish more men can express their vulnerability to their fellow brothers and the women in their life without believe they are weak.
Yeah. Well, I mean, isn't that a part of what mental health is about, right? Is that I should be able to come home and say to my brothers, my partners, or my old lady, or my wife, say, babe, look, I had a bad day today. You know, I don't feel like myself. I just want to sit on the sofa and chill right now.
Yeah. And that's the thing that we wanted to address, the internal battle that most Black men go through on a daily basis. Not being able to have a venting board or even to decompress from their day, how much that weighs on a person's mental, because we internalize things. That's something I was saying from the very beginning of the show, how it's hard to go through life when you have so much of a burden on your head that you haven't yet to release certain energy. And we need to have these type of dialogues. We need to have these type of conversations, because the PTSDs and all these different things that we go through on a daily basis, people think that you can just get PTSD by going into the military. Sometimes our environment, you know what I'm saying, outside and inside our home causes PTSD.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, you know, that's why I bring up the John Henry effect, right? Because that was not a combat situation. But if you think about it, how many young brothers sit around every day and they watch people go through traumatic experiences, right? And trauma is not defined by me as Dr. Turner. It's defined by the individual who's going through it, right?
Right.
I've seen persons who can no longer drive through intersections because they were T-boned, right? They were in a car accident. And so they have panic attacks every time they come to intersection, right? Trauma can be defined by simply the fact that I might see my homeboy get shot, right? I didn't get shot. It didn't happen to me. It might have been home. I could just see somebody get shot. So now I'm having recurring dreams and nightmares, and I feel like that's a threat on me. So the traumatic experience for Black people, it can be as very broad and varied as any other, but it can be very specific and exacting. And so I think there's a space where we often want to minimize, right, what that experience is. Dr. Joy DeGruy Leary's book, Post-Traumatic Slave Disorder, Syndrome, Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome, and then Sister Michelle Alexander, The New Jim Crow, I think do two really good jobs of delineating the experiences of African Americans in our country and how those experiences continue to affect how we see ourselves, right? So one of the key components about this conversation is the fact that we have to think about how identity becomes integral to our experiences of trauma and self and our ability to heal. So coming back to Brother Torrey's point, I think that's another key component of what he's alluding to, is the idea of identity. If I see myself and think of myself as capable and able to heal, then I'll begin to seek out opportunities to do such. But if the world is telling me, no, you just a thug, you just a gangster. If the world is telling me I'm not a father, I'm not a husband. If the world is telling me all I can do is menial labor, that I shouldn't pursue my dreams. And then if people around me who look like me are telling me that, right, I'm probably not going to think I can do it. I'm probably not going to break free, right? That's why I remember when I was playing football and I would come home to New Orleans, man, it would always be funny because there was always somebody I played football with in the streets. And when I come home, yeah, man, you ain't all that, bro. I used to do this, that, and other. You think because you're in college. I said, no. I always thought you was better than me. You just didn't go your ass to school. And I had to break it down to him. I said, no NBA, NFL, or baseball scout comes through the hood looking for who running from the police. They're at the games.
Absolutely.
They're in the gyms. They're at the track. So if you're not wearing a jersey, right? And what I also joke about is that some brothers and sisters be afraid of the zebras, i.e. the referees. You got to be able to play. And that's, I'll make a little joke I thought about, because I used to hoop a little bit, right? And I used to tell cats, like, we would show up to the court and they would be going backcourt. I'm like, yo, backcourt. Man, don't nobody play that. What do you mean? That's a rule. Well, we don't play that. Okay, well, then we go out of bounds. Well, nobody plays out of bounds lines. Okay, well, what about fouls? Oh, you just got as many fouls on. So now you just fouling me because I'm better. And I'd be like, that's the problem in life in a lot of ways, that brothers don't know how to play within the rules in many aspects. So when those rules start to come onto them, we don't know how to handle it. Right. And I'm not saying that all rules are good rules. What I'm saying, though, is if you say you want to be an NBA basketball player, but you're not going to use backcourt as a part of the rules that you're playing on the court, you're not going to make it in the NBA, bro. You got 8 seconds to get it across half court. If you can't get it across, they don't want you on the team.
Exactly.
You ain't got but how many fouls you get in the NBA? 5, B. That's it. You can't just hack away and then be mad because they pull you out the game.
Exactly.
Right.
But that can be traumatic if I don't know those rules, and that's another part in terms of understanding that we gotta be able to understand the rules, right? We gotta be able to understand the rules because unfortunately, bro, until we get to a point where we make the rules, we gotta play by the rules that's set.
Absolutely. Dr. Turner, we got a question from Dr. Harris, and the question is: there are assumptions that Black men only talk about real issues at the barbershop. What are suggestions you have for Black men to come together to support each other?
Right.
That's from Dr. Harris.
Peace, Quinn. So love to that point, because I think there's multiple ways to do it. So first and foremost, the barbershop is always a good place. The only problem with the barbershop, and I'm speaking from my experience, it's been well over 25 years since I got a cut, right? I just used to see too many bad things in the barbershop. So my struggle is not so much that the barbershop isn't a good space, but how many barbershops really promoting good conversations? I saw too many drug deals. I saw too many cats doing drugs. I saw too many cats playing with pistols in the barbershop. And this, you know what I mean? So I say that because the barbershop is not a bad place, but if the barbershop is promoting it, fine. Here in New Orleans, actually, we have a citywide supported initiative to help barbershops and beauty salons actually talk about mental health and violence reduction. So there's a good program here. But to Dr. Harris's point, I think, I'm teaching the class. A little shout out to Xavier University. I'm a professor at Xavier, and right now I'm teaching the course at the Institute of Black Catholic Studies, and I'm talking about Black identity, mind, body, and soul. And one of the things I talk about today is, where does this happen? I'm just a firm believer that Black religious institutions, whether it be the church, the synagogue, the mosque, that's where this happens, right? There's not many places in America that Black people can go and be authentically and unapologetically Black, unlimited, right? The only place that historically is our places of worship. So I kick our pastors and imams and our various religious leaders every time I can. Why aren't you having men's meeting? Why aren't you putting out opportunities for men to meet and come and just converse and talk and deal with stuff, right? Because we got to deal with stuff all the way from the baby mama drama and legal issues all the way up to mental health issues. We got to have specific times where brothers can talk about finances, right? Because brothers don't want to tell you they broke, but brother be like, yo, man, let me borrow $20. And you realize he didn't hit you for $20 about 4 or 5 times across that week. That's $100. But it's your man's, and you're not really thinking this, but why don't he just say, hey, man, I'm having some financial troubles. Can I get a real loan? Or look, bro, I have some problems and I might need to get a few dollars. Can you help me out, right? So one is that we got to get back to pursuing this work within our faith-based institutions, because the other thing is this: Black people have always been spiritual, right? But if you look at churches, there's a U-shaped relationship over time with men in places of faith. When men are young, especially Black men, our mamas and grandmas and memas and big mamas take us to church. About 15, we discover girls, video games, and music, and we get out to church. And most of us don't come back to the church until something life-changing happens. That usual life-changing event is a brother that's close to us whose health declines or dies. So at that point in time, we now have a threat that tells us, hold up, wait a minute, I need to get my life right. So probably between ages of 35, 40 upwards is when brothers start coming back to church. We have to think about changing that, because if brothers are not in the church during their formative years, if brothers are not around places of faith, then that means, to Brother Tory's point, they're not really exploring who they are. Because as I was hearing a conversation in the backstage, we're talking about the God within us, right? We're talking about the faith within us. And so once again, we got to talk about the fact that the barbershop is not a bad place because most people go get a haircut online, right? Secondly, so to speak, which not in a rank order, but places of faith. Once again, shout out to HBCU love, right? That's the next place where Black people can go and be Black unapologetically, right? And I'm gonna promote this because I tell these people all the time, look, I ain't got no problem with nobody sending their kids to, I assume y'all on the East Coast, whether it be to NYU, Syracuse, Georgetown, or whatever, but where can you go and be Black all day long, study Black people, talk about Black people, examine Black people, and come up with Black solutions? That's happening at Southern and Baton Rouge. That's happening at Xavier University. That's happening at Cheney. That's happening at Howard. That's happening at Hampton. That's happening at FAMU. So if we're going to inherently avoid the places where you can be as Black as you want to be, to go to places where your Blackness is limited, how you gonna find solutions?
Right. Dr. Turner, I have a question. We know that when it comes down to giving advice or going to individuals with advice, what you notice is more of an older woman will take a younger woman under her wing and give her the advice. Why do you think that men don't do the same thing when it comes down to trying to educate a younger brother about some things that they're going through because they already been there?
So I think that's a mixed bag, right? All right. Right now, I'm actually the evaluator and I'm a mentor with a program here in New Orleans called the Silverback Society. Every year we go into 8th grade classrooms across the city and we do a mentorship program with boys. Also within the city of New Orleans, we have Reaching for the Stars. We have the 100 Black Men in New Orleans who's having a mentor program. We also have a program here called Son of a Saint, right? So I think there's kind of some programmatic things that happen, but if I hear you correctly, we're also talking about the kind of informal mentorship and relationships that should happen, right?
Well, it's like more so of like myself being, you know what I'm saying, almost 50, and I see a younger brother in his 30s that needs some guidance or needs some, you know what I'm saying, and a lot of times we don't extend that olive branch to try to give him those jewels. We just allow them to go through it without helping him, you know what I'm saying, so he don't have to go through the same bumps and bruises that we did.
Yeah. All right, so I read you right. So I think that's what's interesting. That's why I say I think it's a mixed bag. I think what we find is that the larger the age gap, the more likely folks are willing to engage in mentorship, right? So you have a 50, 60-year-old brother who's willing to mentor a 12 or 15-year-old brother, right? The problem I think that you're addressing or you're kind of highlighting is that there's oftentimes still a whole lot of competition for, in a very real way, men who are in similar kind of life status positions, right? So while there still is a 20-year difference, a 50-year-old man and a 30-year-old man are really living the same life. Everybody's trying to break bread. Everybody's trying to get old lady or chasing women, and everybody's just trying to survive. And so I think sometimes what we experience is an unnatural competition, right? And so whether it be the older man not wanting to per se give his secrets away to this young man, because now we can play with some of the, kind of thoughts around what happens with the competition among animals, right? You always got that old bull or that old lion or that old bison, and he got to run off all the young bucks. He got to keep all of the young lions away because he got his harem. He got the women that he's used to. And that young bull, that young lion, that young buck is trying to figure out how he could get to the top. And if he don't get that, if he doesn't have that relationship, then inherently he got to take it by force. And so I think that we buy into, unfortunately, some of that Eurocentric competition, right, that is inherent to the Eurocentric way, because that is a Eurocentric value competition, where within the African ethos, the ideal situation is collaboration.
Right.
So it should be, once again, that Ubuntu principle, right? I help you, you help me, and we go out and do well together. As the other proverb says, if you want to go far, if you want to go fast, if you want to go far, if you want to go fast, you're gonna go alone. But if you want to go far, you're gonna go with a group. And so too many of us just want to go fast.
I think that takes us back to a point where we look at ourselves and say, as most black men seeing, sometimes, we actually have to take accountability of ourselves. We have to police ourselves in order to show our future, what it's like. And the thing is, when you talked about the competition and all those things, that's a European concept, because there was once point in time in our history where that child and that father, that son, idolized dad every step of the way, because dad was always there, teaching him, guiding him, building him to say, you're going to become the man one day, because I'm going to have to leave you. Right. And I want you to know these are the things in life that you're going to have to go through. But what I'm preparing for you, it will be easier for you to go through, because the timeline of me and my experience is going to pass. But the knowledge that I'm giving you, you will regain my story. So when you creating your path and something similar comes along, you can say, you know what? I remember my dad telling me about this. This is something similar. So I either know how to avoid it, run through it, break it down, and remember, the one thing I think we always had someone, whether it be a father, a brother, an uncle, cousin, always say, because I know my mom's always told us, never forget the bridge that brought you over. Or in other parts, remember, as you climbing that ladder and all the people you passing by going up, one day you might have to fall down, and you'll be seeing some of them same people that you passed down as you falling are moving up that ladder bye. Treat people how you want to be treated. You know what I mean? But we forget. I mean, I look at us as being the sleeping giant. We're sleeping. A black man is still asleep subconsciously to a lot of things. The moment when I say we, this understanding the mindset that we wake up and say enough is enough, and I'm not going to allow no more of this to enter my cipher. You will not affect my children in the negative. I'm not going to allow that. Whether I be incarcerated or anything, that I still have a mouth to be vocally a factor in my child's life. I will do that until I can't speak one more word. And I will do that for any child, any brother, any cousin, anyone who's looking for a big brother to seek and have some type of magnetic attraction to. So again, that's where the part about us holding up the world on our shoulders has always been that concept for a black man to me. And it's, and the mental relaxation or stimulation I get is when I know I've done the best that I can for myself and it helps someone else out. That's my home. You know what I'm saying? I'm at peace. I'm at peace within already, because what I have given is shown as a positive light for someone else to reflect on. I'm good.
It's not a bad, you know what I'm saying? Because you're going to give your children automatic. You should, you know what I mean? Your children should get it off the top. That should go without questioning. But when you see a brother, like I said, was stating earlier, like a young brother, his woman just had a baby. He's working 2 part-time per diem jobs, not understanding that she's going to need him to be that foundation, that provider, that and protector, and all these other things in this point in time. So it's like you have to have these conversations, because these young brothers are coming up and don't even know what it is to be a man. They don't know what a role is to be a man. Like, what is it to be a man? So if we don't step up and talk to them and initiate these type of conversations, because trust and know that an older woman has already had a conversation with a young woman and told her what it is to be a woman.
That's right.
So, all right, let's see what Doc said.
Here you go. Dr. Turner, how would you suggest a brother share his mental illness or challenges with a significant other or potential partner? Sisters are more open to do so in a relationship, as Josh Mel explained, but brothers may feel like they will be judged by a woman and appear weak. Sisters can't support black men if they not open about their depression and or anxiety.
So I think one of my realities with that point is that, and actually that brought me to what I was going to say, is that we have to actually create, once again, this space to support brothers to being willing to do this work, right? So just like you said, DJ KYs, how you brought that point around, like you are at that point where you are going to fulfill a role that fits the ethos, the ideals of what you think should happen. We have to normalize. I mean, that's one of the reasons why, once again, I could cut down the NFL because they still ain't doing right. But when you look at the NBA has long been supporting the idea that NBA players who have mental health needs get help. I'm actually a listed provider for the Pelicans here in New Orleans. If any of their players need a mental health professional, I'm on their list of providers, and I've done work with them, right? But we're not promoting that really in the NFL. We're not really promoting that for the average brother. We're not really promoting that as a, hey, you need to find this space. If anything, we still tell brothers what, man, just smoke, dog. Just drink something, bro. You're gonna be all right, bro. Just man, look, don't worry about it, bro. Just keep fighting, right? So I think one of the things that when we talk about Black male mental health, and even to the larger context of just Black mental health within our communities, we have to tell people that it's not a weakness to ask for help.
That's right.
Right.
It's actually the greatest sign of strength you can have, because what you're saying is, I know that I want to be the best version of me, and in order for me to do that, I need help. If you broke your leg, what would you do?
Go get help.
If you break your arm, what will you do? Go to the doctor. If you're diagnosed with cancer, if you get COVID, whatever it might be, in any of those other situations, people will willingly and openly seek out professional help. So why are we so afraid to say it's okay to do the same for psychological distress? And that's actually one of the things I was going to message about. I don't tell people they gonna come see me because they got a mental illness. I said, bro, we just gonna talk about your distress. Everybody has it. Everybody, if somebody in your life passes, somebody's gonna feel down. If you get your heart broken, you're gonna feel a little salty, right? If you lose your job, right? So I said, let's put it in context. Everybody goes through periods and times where they don't always feel the way they want to feel.
Right.
Go see a professional. Go to the professional who is trained. And one of the things I want to bring up tonight, brothers, is actually I talk a lot about Black mental health consumer practices, right? A couple points I would say, kind of to Dr. Harris's point, and really to help brothers who are listening. One, ask other people if they've ever seen a mental health care professional. Somebody has, whether it be and actually that might be the other point to the question, right? You may not have to say to your wife, your partner, but just say, hey, do you know anybody who's ever seen a psychologist, right? Just inquire about it. And then the more you ask, at that point, they may be willing to tell you, well, look, man, yeah, this is the person's name. You should call them if you have questions, right? That's the first thing. Ask people that you trust. So like it was said, I may not ask my girlfriend. I may ask a professor. I may ask someone in the church. I may ask someone on my job. I may ask someone who is more likely to give me a sensitive answer of what they know about the profession. Then secondly, you got to think about the fact that this is a new area for most Black men and Black people to really explore. Look it up. Get on your phone. Look it up and say, okay, what are psychologists? Or what should I do if I have depression? What should I do? Do some just basic smartphone internet research to figure out what you might be experiencing, right? The third part, when you start to look it up, then you want to say, okay, well, do I feel like I need to see somebody who's Black? Do I feel I should see a woman, right? I've had tons of conversations about why men are more likely to want to seek services with a woman. Well, if you think about it, how many women do men see that are sensitive, loving, and caring in their lives? Most of them, right? So then I'm more likely to go to someone who's already exhibited those characteristics that make me feel like I can have this conversation. That's why I don't get mad with brothers when they call me and I talk to them and then they be like, yeah, well, I'm gonna see somebody else. I'm like, cool, bro. Let me know if you go see him. If that don't work, I'm still here for you, right? And then the last thing, and this is what I think is most important, if you decide to see someone, do the research on the individual. Make sure you know what degree they have. Make sure that they're licensed. Make sure that they're professionally sound so that you can do that. Make sure you understand what their training is. See, my thing is, I don't ask the person at the door at Walmart a whole bunch of questions about the pharmacy. I ask the pharmacist. The pharmacist is the one with the degree, the training, and the licensure. That pharmacist is going to get buku questions from me. All right, why this drug? Okay, what that drug gonna do? That drug gonna mess up my manhood, when I'm trying to have sex? Is that drug gonna make me feel bad? What if that drug, okay, look, say this on here. How likely am I to experience that? I'm gonna give that person all those questions so that I can truly understand what should be happening. And so those are some points I talk about with Black consumerism and understanding that when it comes to mental health, we're still consumers of an industry that we don't know a lot about. One of the things I also offer to when I do some trainings, I tell people there's nothing wrong with calling and have a conversation. Just like if you were to go buy a car. If you go buy a car, you may not buy the first car you see, but you're gonna ask a lot of questions. Okay, what's the gas mileage? What's the how many gallons this fuel does it carry, right? How many people can fit in it, right? What's the maintenance potential cost on it, right? What's the resale value after so many years? You should have a lot of questions. And they might say, yeah, that don't really fit what I want. And then you're going to go on to the next one. You should have the same questions until you find the fit that works for you, your budget, and your lifestyle, and what you want. And so we have to be mindful that we are consumers of a product that's supposed to help us. And we're not supposed to be afraid of that. We're supposed to be empowered to say, hey, this is what I'm looking for. What's up?
Dr. Turner, can you address this part right here? He says again, I'm for my people, and I'm very racist and look to help my input.
I would ask Brother Tory if that's his actual statement, because I'm a little not clear if he really meant to say I'm very racist. So
that's him popping up. I mean, and I'm glad you were clear, because I want some clarification upon that myself.
The only part I'm not understanding is why the statement I'm very racist. I'm for my people, and I looked out my engine. I'm just not sure what the racist means. So if you can,
correct,
Brother Tory, if you can verify that that's what you really mean to say, just say, yeah, that's what you mean to say. But what I think that gets at is, and if I'm going to make a huge assumption, Brother Tory is talking about the impact of race and racism and discrimination on the Black community, right? I think that's very important that we recognize that race has played a role, as I stated, with post-traumatic slave syndrome by Dr. Jordan B. Leary, and then once again with the documentary 13, and then the new Jim Crow. I think we all understand the effect of racism in the Black community per se. I say we all because there's some people who no longer want to believe that, i.e. Clarence Thomas, right? Some people don't want to think that racism, still affects us. But the reality is that if you're not operating in a good person position, you're not going to be able to help your people, because you're potentially going to ascribe and proscribe onto them values that may be problematic. So what I would say is, it's fine if you have a certain feeling, but you got to be careful. What I was going to say is, oftentimes get asked by students, how can I do therapy and keep my values out of the room? Well, I don't keep my values out of the room. I bring my values in, but I check my values and make sure that I'm not trying to make other people feel like I feel. And so I think what Brother Tory said is a very important fact in terms of the idea that we have to be mindful of what role racism has played in our communities and how it affects us. But I have to say, I don't ascribe to the idea that I have to be racist or prejudicial towards others to help my people. Because here's the reality, Brother Tory. All my skin folk ain't my kinfolk, and all my kinfolk ain't my skin folk. I've had just as many people help me and do for me that don't look like me as I've had people hurt me who look like me and ate at my table. So I can't buy into the idea that just because someone is white that I can't rock with them. And I can't buy the idea that just because somebody Black, I can't call them out on their bullshit. So I get where you're coming from, the idea that we got to be down for the understanding of what's going on with our people. But sometimes my white homie gonna ride for me harder than my brother because my brother mad at me because I'm getting my shine on. Well, my white homie like, bro, tell me what you need. And I got a couple white partners. My daughter just get boxes at times. Yeah, bro, we was in the store. We said, I got homies I rock with every day. So, no, I don't have homies like that. I'm lying because I don't rock with cats like that. And I do that on purpose. But it's cats that I thought I would have in my life that over time I saw the shadiness and I saw the shystiness, and I just distanced myself because I would help them with their stuff and I would try to take care of them. But what I realized was everybody ain't gonna ride for me like that. And I think that's the reality. And I kind of laugh at what you're saying. I tell people all the time, my reality is this: I have so many people around me that love me. A hater can't get close to me. because there's so many people gonna say, nah, bro, you don't have the right energy. You can't come in here. Or they gonna say, yeah, you that guy that be talking bad about my people. We don't want you around. And so I think that's our reality, man, is that we just got to be honest that we are in proverbial kind of figurative battle for our people. And oftentimes the thing that we're losing is our mind. You know, I think once again, as we think about Black male mental health, what we're playing with, or the notion of what we're dealing with, is the fact that we're trying to actually make sense of how we're supposed to be okay. You know, how we're supposed to do what we're supposed to do so that we can take care of our business. You know, and if we don't do what we're supposed to do, then how are we going to take care of our people? You know, so
Pardon me for cutting your wisdom on that. But I had a question. I wanted to know, how is it that it's easier for us to go outside of our home to get the help that we need than it is to divulge information to our significant other or a family member?
I'm gonna go ahead and say I don't know if it's easy. I think that might be a perceptual issue, right? I think a lot of times, if we go ahead and broach the topic, then it actually is gonna open up the conversation, right? What I also say is, in a very real way, sometimes we're afraid that we might not find the love that we thought we had too. And so I think the scary part is that if you open it up and you find that person ain't really there for what you thought, then that means you got to make a shift, right? And so that's actually a big part of therapy. Remember what I said, a lot of therapy to me is actually grounded in a person's ability to identify themselves and where their hurt, their wounds might be. And so sometimes people don't want to have to face the fact that maybe who they thought they were, you know, is not who somebody else said they love. And so I think sometimes I try to get people to say, hey, look, if you go home and you tell your wife you need help and she says she can't help you, that might be actually the issue, that you've been feeling like you ain't getting the love you need. And you might have to step away from that, and then you might find that you're all right. I do have a couple situations where I've seen brothers who was trying to stay down for the family, and they thought I'm gonna tough it out, I'm gonna wait till the kids get older, I'm gonna just see it through. And as soon as they got into a situation where they needed help, they didn't get it. And they was like, wait a minute, this is what I've been afraid of, and this is why I've been so stressed. This is why I've been depressed, because I was afraid that I wouldn't get supported. Now that I'm in a situation where I need support, I'm not getting it. Well, that's why I've been stressed. So you know what? Let me get out of the situation and watch what happens. The person flourishes, right? They move on to a better, not even a better situation, just a different situation. They're not stressed. They're not anxious. They're able to see themselves in a fully functioning, autonomous way that allows them to be who they want to be, right? I'm not going to come home to my house if my partner has the house depressed. Many brothers drive by their house and go to the bar. They go by the homie, or they just go sit in the park because, man, I don't want to go in there, bro. She going to be on my back. Or look, I didn't do what I was supposed to do, and I can't even go in there and tell her I don't have what I said I was going to have because I just don't have it. So they avoid it, right? And so I think that becomes a key component of the fact that sometimes, man, we got to be able to say that the results of reality, well, let me put it the way I like to say it. Too many people would rather a pretty lie than ugly truth. I can't. That's the only way I think about it, man. I don't want a pretty lie. A pretty lie is gonna hurt me, but an ugly truth is gonna help me. It's gonna save me.
I want to say this real quick, Josh and Mel, before I let you start. I just want to make this announcement that we're taking this segment right now, ladies and gentlemen, to an hour and a half, because the information that we're receiving from Dr. Turner is vital, and we want to make sure that every person that's here that can tune in, call and talk to some of their families, invite them to check this story out. And we will have more than one to come up with part 2, part 3. But this is vital information right now. I just want to stop everything right there and make that announcement. We are taking this an hour and a half show. Usually we do an hour, but the information is so vital and important. And what you're saying is toning and has a ring to everybody that we want to make sure everybody gets filled on this tonight. I appreciate you.
Now, yeah, with that, it's like a pretty lie, ugly truth. Do you feel like a lot of individuals suffer from that on a constant, like daily basis? Like,
Yeah, I mean, think about it, bro. Like how many? I think about something that was said to me one time was, I always had a lot of food in my house, right? But I drive a truck, and it was said to me by somebody who always was in the fresh car with big rims and always was, seeming on their fly shit, right? I went to their house, they didn't have no food. It was said, well, look, bro, if you come over, you want to eat, you got to stop and get you something to eat. But what about the drink? No, I ain't got no liquor here, right? And so I thought about it. I said, so what you're saying is you can drive around town and ask for gas money, but you can't invite somebody to your house to have a meal. And I was like, I had to think about that in terms of, we talk about flexing. I was like, yo, that's a flex then, right? Because my thing is, you come to my house, we could eat and drink and be merry. But at your house, we ain't even got nowhere to sit down.
Right.
And so I got to stand up and eat my Popeyes. But if you want to ride around town and act like you got it all, we could do that.
Right.
So I think too many people. And look, man, I don't like to kick down other people. I got friends in the industry. I got friends who play ball. I think a lot of it comes back to the fact that, as Brother Torres is saying, it's programming, right? We program our kids to begin to believe that the only way to have a good life in America is to be rich or a celebrity or famous. And I think that's the struggle, because I can even tell a story. One summer I was teaching a class. I had a student tell me that she couldn't live off of $50,000 a year. Not out of undergrad yet. And so I was like, oh, perfect opportunity to potentially teach, right? So I asked her if she understood what the median income was in the United States of America. She said, what's that? So, well, that's the first problem that lets me know that you're probably not going to make $50,000, period. So I told her the median income in America was about $29,000, $30,000 a year. I said median meaning that's the middlemost income. Well, not middle, that's the most occurring, right? I said, so what that means is most people in the United States make about $30,000 a year. I said, so if most people make that, how are you going to say without a college degree that you want to make $80,000? I was like, at the time, I was like, I'm a professor with a PhD and I don't make $80,000. So if there's a job that you can get without a degree making $80,000, tell me and I won't go see if I could get it. Right? Because the reality is that she bought into the notion that somehow, some way, she was just going to get this job making $80,000 a year because she had to go on vacation every year. She had to be able to buy a purse whenever she wanted to. She wanted to be able to drive whatever car she wanted to. She wanted to live wherever she wanted to. Versus the ideal of having early financial health and knowledge so that she could build an economic portfolio or profile that would not have her doing what she wanted at 21, but having her be able to do whatever she wanted at 50, at 60, at 70, right? And once again, I even think about this when I played ball, was the fact that the idea was that there's only a couple of jobs where you come out making that kind of money, right? So yeah, if you're a rookie in the NBA, NFL, or baseball, you might get that multi-million-dollar contract, and yes. And there might be a couple industries where cats come out and they can automatically make some real stupid money, right? But the average American, their first job, they're gonna make about $30,000 a year. That's not a touch,
right? That's right.
But people don't want to believe that. Matter. Oh shucks, man. Matter of fact, man, if I'd thought we was gonna go here, there was an article, and it showed that graduates of 2019 and 2020 overestimated their potential income by $50,000.
Wow!
Right, across disciplines. So I don't know how they did it, but these cats, they did a study, and what they asked students was, what do you think your potential salary will be based upon your industry? All across the board, the average overestimation was about 50,000. So if you think about it, you got cats who's going to potentially that the reality was that they were going to come out and they thought they was going to make 100,000, but they was only going to make 50,000, right? That's a huge overshoot, because when you start getting job offers and they offer you 49, 51, you're going to be like, well, that's not enough money. You're going to tell them no. You're going to keep waiting for a job that don't come to pay you $100,000. Right? The TV ain't cut right. So, Brother Tori, I don't know your brother, so I can't speak to the whole thing. But what I think about is anytime somebody tells me to do something on TV, before I do what they say, I go find somebody that's doing it. Right? So it's good that he saw that it might have been motivated. But my question would be, did he actually talk to anybody who drove trucks? Because one of the things that you got to do your research, right? And not just look online and get confirmation bias that says, yes, you can if you want to, because that's what happened with all of the kind of web-based, sellers of products and stuff, right? They got these things online. Oh, just go into the store, scan this, and do this, and then just sell it for this online. Well, that ain't how that happens, right? So I think what we talk about once again is those are the things that do what's called in culture. That's what culturally encapsulates us, right? Is that we start thinking, I'm gonna use a get rich scheme. I'm gonna use a quick way to do it, right? But I was told growing up that a shortcut ain't nothing but a long way around.
There you go.
So shortcuts actually, man, look, shortcuts never work through the park, because the shortcut usually meant I had to climb over something, crawl under something, move something, jump over something. Was if I'd have just walked around the corner, I'd have been there and I'd have had less work and I'd have got there just as fast. So,
see, our big brother just made a comment right there. Praise God. He states that we learn that no one is more hated than he who speaks the truth.
Word.
And that speaks mad volume when he says what he said.
Yeah. And I think that becomes a very, very real part of why it's important for us to seek out truth tellers around these issues, right? So my mentor was Dr. Joseph White, Black psychologist, world-renowned, all kind of scholars and identifications and notifications and all kind of accolades. Dr. Naeem Akbar, Black male psychologist. Dr. Francis Cress Wilson, Malena Karanga. We got so many. I'm blanking right now, but Fanny. I'm thinking about Dr. Kenneth Clark and his wife, Mamie Clark, infamous for the dog studies that helped overturn Brown v. Board education. I think about the Janet Helms. Just once again, Asa Hilliard. Just once again, there's so many Black psychologists that when we had these conversations, and actually when I do from presentations, I have listing pictures of these folks, and folks will, where are they? I say, well, that's why we got to do a little bit of research, right? Before you sit down and just listen to what someone has told you, verify that information, ensure that what they're telling you is true. And once again, because I tell people, I don't mind talking about this to help people go the right direction. I ain't got to get paid for everything I do, because everything I do ain't going to pay me. But at some point in time, I'm going to wind up getting paid, whether it be a referral, whether it be somebody saying, yo, that's Dr. Turner, I got your meal a day, whether it be when I go into the store, somebody say, well, look, I heard about you, Dr. Turner, I'm going to give you a discount because you helped my brother, right? So however it go, I'm not looking for it always in a direct payment. So we got to be mindful that once again, all we got to do is ask questions, right? All we got to do is seek out information. That's why what Brother Cherry says is that sometimes people don't seek out the truth because, once again, they would rather hear a pretty lie. They don't want that ugly truth. That's what we think about that with medicine, right? Sometimes when you got to get better, medicine don't always taste good. Medicine don't always feel good, but you got to take it,
And that's the issue that I have, that individuals don't open their mouth and ask questions, and they don't go to a source of individuals and ask for help. And I feel like as Black men, we have a lot of trust issues. And that plays a major part in us getting help for ourselves.
Yeah. So but that's why I go back to, like I said, we got to think about what are the institutions, the entities within our community that we should be able to have these conversations. Because what I found is this, bro, when I go do a talk, it's a couple brothers who may be sitting in the back or they may not be too engaging, right? But a couple of days later, guess what? Hey, Dr. Turner, I was in that meeting that you was at and I heard you talking and I really didn't want to say anything, but can I call you? Can we talk? Yeah, bro, that's why I was there. I knew somebody was going to hear it, wasn't going to say nothing, but yeah, bro, that's why I'm here for. Call me. We could talk, right? And once again, I think that's the reality of why we should have barbershops that are being factual, because once again, that cognitive dissonance, you can't tell me if you're a barbershop owner or if you're a barber that you want me to be healthy, but you got a cat selling dope in here. That's an oxymoron. That's a paradox. Like I'm hearing that you want to help me, but I'm seeing that you're not helping me, right? I don't know about y'all, but I know cats who done got shot and killed in barbershops because that's what they do, right?
Absolutely.
I done seen cats get robbed coming out the barbershop because barbers be setting cats up, or women be setting cats up. So once again, if cats know these places aren't healthy, why would I trust that you really got my best interest, right?
Mm-hmm.
So barbershops, beauty salons, right? But they have to be wholesome. We think about our faith-based institutions. We think about our HBCUs, right? We think about our sororities and civic organizations and fraternities, and we think about our Masons, right? We think about our other Eastern Star Sisters. Like, those are places that I tell all the time, I will come and talk to your membership. I will come and be a part of what you're doing. I will do it for free if you can't pay me, because I want to help people. But that's the other thing too, is that those entities have to invite Black psychologists and mental health care providers to the space so that folks will feel comfortable in doing that. Like, I can't just come and you give me a table, I'm sitting there. You may have to introduce me. Hey, look, I'm Brother Josh Mel. This is Brother Brian. I know him. This is my guy. We cool. If you ever have any mental health needs, call me. I'll connect you with him. Or if you want to just call him and you don't want me to know, but this is my guy. I met him, blah, blah, blah. We got to do that because it's almost like the same thing, bro. If you invite me to the crib for a barbecue. Well, if I just show up and I start eating and taking food and I sit on the side and don't nobody know me, people are going to think something wrong with me. People are going to be mad at you. Who this cat is?
You just hungry.
Right.
Yeah, you got fed the hungry child, right?
Yeah.
Right. But if you say, yo, this is my man Brian from New Orleans. He came up to visit. He good people. He going to be here a few days, blah, 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 blah. What's going to happen? Oh, man, what's up, Brian? How you doing? Well, if Josh Mel brought you in, you must be good people.
Right.
Same concept.
Dr. Turner, let me ask you this. Do you feel that, in your professional opinion, the breakdown of most Black men has been the absenteeism of a father in the home, or just total overlooked and made a non-factor? And I look at that because the society places such weight on the importance of Mother's Day being this and this and this. But when it comes to a Father's Day, it's all about working tools. It ain't nothing about saying, show dad your love. It's about, dad, get these tools, go out there and build a field. You know what I mean? So he's distant. Yeah. So in your professional opinion, would you say that our issues, a lot of our health, mental issues really come from the lack of absentee fatherism?
So I'm not going to say I'm disagreeing with you. I'm going to give you some research, right? Okay. So research actually supports the notion that Black fathers today are just as involved or more involved than other racial ethnic groups in the lives of their kids, right? So that's the point why I would say I'm going to give you the kind of medicine piece, right? However, the problem that often creeps up is when there's still any type of animus or callousness between the father and the mother, right? So think about it this way. When brothers and sisters are still able to get along and co-parent, children have better outcomes, right? It's not as big a deal. But when there's still some type of animus between mom and father, that's where we begin to see deleterious issues for kids, right? So that's that piece. Now, the largesse of the conversation is always going to be kids are better off when they see their parents in healthy relationships. Now, it doesn't have to always be romantic, married relationships, right? Because we have to be honest. Everybody don't just break up because somebody cheated. Some people got to break up because they no longer fit, right? So as we move towards your point, it does matter that kids see their parents in healthy relationships. And I think what is more important, not about just the absenteeism, but what role does the parent play? What role does the father play, right? Because once again, what we find is that when parents are not having healthy relationships, that's a signal for greater discord in the house, in the family, right? Mom and dad aren't getting along. There's usually some money issue. Money issues lead to what? Problems in terms of child having issues at school, right? Mm-hmm. Problems at school lead to disciplinary issues. Disciplinary issues lead to criminal issues. Criminal issues lead to incarceration. So if we had two parents who, even though they're not romantically involved, but are able to coexist and co-parent, they can address the needs of their child better, right? So I say all that to say, yes, absenteeism is a problem, but I don't think it is as cut and dry as, well, brothers just are not there. And I think that's where sometimes if we simplify it too much, then now we get brothers and sisters at each other next, right? Because one of the things I used to work on was parenting classes for people who are no longer in relationships, right? To try to help them understand that you can coexist and live in this world and you don't have to hate each other, right? But that takes a lot of maturity. And what I found both in my life and in my professional life is that everybody ain't always ready for that. And so I agree with you that absenteeism is problematic, but I don't think it is as simplified. And I think what's important is that it's the media and white media specifically that simplifies that to a point that causes that malcontent in our communities. Because if the data says what it says, then we shouldn't be saying that Black fathers are deadbeats. We should only be talking about parenting dyads and cohorts that have problems that they need help for. Actually, I'll be honest with y'all, man. I actually have promoted the idea that what we should do in legal situations, court situations, we should have a community council. So when people come up and they're having problems in their relationship, they go before the community council. One, make it free because everybody ain't got money to file all these legal papers, right? Everybody ain't got money to get an attorney. So it has to be, if you have any type of issue, go to community council first. The community council sit down, just like Brother Joshua said, right? You get some brothers with that brother to talk about what he's doing, how he could be a better father, how he could be a better co-parent, right? You get those sisters together with that young lady, say, hey, sister, we understand you mad. You might be a little heartbroken, but this is a good brother. You can't keep him from his kids. If he's having some problems, help him understand how he could be better to you and the kids without trying to hold this over his head and like kicking them out the kids' lives, right? And then let that community council mentor them both into having a better co-parent relationship so that they can be better for their kids, right? Okay. But that's too easy. The system don't really want that because that's going to mean Black men and Black women are working together to raise their kids. So what do they want to do? They want to have the dad who gets a little behind on his payments go to jail. They want to promote the sister, get as much child support as you can, make his life miserable. If he get a girlfriend, give him hell. If he try to move on with his life, don't let him see his kids, right? Because that keeps up the drama, right? So that would be my answer, brother. I hope that gets to the point.
Well, I really agree with you. I appreciate that. And I think that should resonate in a lot of us because, most of the time it's easy to say that without going into the defining issues of what is it building into for that to say, for that to be so broadcast, but what are the defining measures within it that catapults it to that point? And I appreciate and thank you for saying so.
I don't want to talk about Kanye. Kanye ain't crazy. Anytime a brother could go on a show and drink alcohol and talk about he a billionaire and how he this and how he that, he ain't crazy. Kanye has built a brand, he's built a following, he's living off of that. And as we know, most of the time it ain't Black folks that's supporting what he's doing, it's white folks. I think Jadakiss said it best. After so many scans on a record, it's white folks that's buying it. So Black folks don't historically buy a lot of music. White folks don't historically buy a lot of that stuff. It's white folks. If you go through the mall, if you go through the airport, you see white folks rocking Yeezys. I ain't never seen nobody Black wearing none of the clothes Kanye put out. It's always white folks.
Right.
So I don't think Kanye crazy. I think Kanye has built the following. I think he's built what he wanted to do. He's a billionaire. That's what he wanted to do. I do think his mother's passing and death was traumatizing, but I also think he realized that for him, he just wanted to take over the world.
Right.
I call him MAGA man. That's his suit. That's his super villain name. He's MAGA man.
Dr. Turner, like Kay had said, we had went over 30 minutes of the show, but we want to bring you back to, to expound on this type of conversation and touch on some more subjects about men's mental health because we need to have this open dialogue. So we want to extend to you and ask you, would you be open to coming back, in time for us to have this conversation again and expand on different topics?
Oh man, any day, bro. You got my number, you got my email. Hit me up, holler at me. We'll put it together. I'll be here.
I appreciate you so much, Dr. Turner. Like I said, it's been so informative. And during the show, you saw a lot of different aspects from the individuals who watch and commenting to the dialogue that we're having ourselves. And these are subjects that need to be happening in the Black community. So today was a very informative show. I'm so humbled to have you on the show today, Dr. Turner. And like I say, we was expecting a good show, but we wasn't expecting an explosive one. And this one right here was definitely explosive. It opened up a lot of doors, and you got an opportunity to see how individuals think because they was able to be transparent with some of the things and some of the questions that they have. So I want to say thank you for coming on and blessing us with the information, and look forward to having you back on soon as we possibly can. And Kay, you know, it's been a rough one, bro.
Yeah. Hey man, look, y'all make sure and tag me on social media so I can share what y'all doing, bro. Because I got love for what y'all doing. We gotta spread the word. Like I said, me and a partner of mine, we run a show similarly called Brothers with Degrees, where we try to have these conversations as well. So tag us, let us know, man, and we'll definitely put y'all promote because we gotta have these conversations. That's the point. We gotta have these conversations so we can normalize what's actually happening. We gotta combat, as our brother Torres said, we gotta combat the programming, bro. We got to get back to the point. And I love what Public Enemy said, man. We got to turn off the radio, bro. We got to turn off that bullshit. I don't listen to stuff like I used to. I tell my students all the time, you have to be mindful of what you're putting in, who you're following, who you're supporting, right? You got to be mindful that you may not think about it today, but tomorrow, if all you've been listening to is some crazy rap or whatever, it's gonna affect you later in life. You gotta think about it, bro. So I appreciate it, man. Anytime, bro. Just hit me up, let me know how y'all all rock, and I'll definitely be here.
Dr. Turner, hold up before you go. Let the people know how they can actually reach you, just in case they want to have, some consultation or social media or what have you, so they can reach you, saying that they get some help.
Well, I'm not on papers. I'm legal as a beagle, so all you gotta do is search my name, Dr. Brian Turner. If you do that search, you'll find me on Google. I'm at Xavier University as well. So if you go to Xavier University Louisiana's website, on Twitter, it's NOJAGR at 504.com, or you can just search my name. I ain't got to hide for nothing. Like I said, I'm legal. Email address, Dr. Turner 504. That's me, where I'm from, New Orleans 504 at gmail.com, as well as my website, drturnerspeaks.wordpress.com. But once again, just holler however you can. If you search me out, I'm not hiding from nobody. I'm legal. You heard?
Well, ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Turner, we appreciate you, my brother. And again, I salute you and thank you for coming on. This was very informative and inspirational information. And we definitely, like you said, we make sure we let everybody know you don't got a home away from home. You are home right here on the Real to Real. So if there's anything that you may have coming up that you want to let us be aware of, by all means, let us get it out there for you and with you, and we can bring you back on so you can even speak about those upcoming events, because we are a community to help, and we are about being our brothers keepers and making sure that we connect and stay connected, So
appreciate it.
That's what I say. We appreciate you, and the love is here. It's warm, welcome, felt. So before we go, Josh Miller, is there anything you got to say, Lord?
Just thank you for all the followers and listeners, the ones who are engaging. It was a magnificent show. Hope individuals took something away, from the show that's able to help them going forward. And stay tuned. We got a lot of things coming in the near future.
Absolutely. Shout out to Dr. Harris, man. We love you, sis.
My bad.
Coming back.
Doc, you know what it is. Man, Story Radar.
And a special shout out to our big brother, Bishmi Allah. You know we love you, big bro, and appreciate you and adore you as well. To all our family and friends and listeners and the people that support us and follow us, we appreciate you. We salute you all again. Thank you for tuning in for a special hour-and-a-half edition for the Real to Real 360 show. So on behalf of my co-host, Josh Amel Allah, a.k.a. Mr. PhD himself, I, DJ KYs, a.k.a. Kato, salute you one and all, and we're going to say we out of here. And so if we're going to hold Doc backstage for a minute while we sign off, and we good?
Yeah. We're going to hold Doc. We're going to hold Doc up a little bit.
We'll be right there. All right. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, This is the Real 360 show. I'm DJ KY. We love each and every one of y'all, and we want y'all to continue to rock with us. And please, by all means, share, especially tonight's show. It's definitely a learner, and it's definitely a tool to use. And on that end, I say peace.